Howdy 7th grade. Today we are going to be talking about lesson 23, which is all about multiplying and dividing mixed numbers. I have exactly one step for how we multiply and divide mixed numbers. My how-to, step 1, don't. Period. So I never want to have to multiply and divide mixed numbers because it's really hard. What we're going to do instead, the big thing here is instead, we want to multiply and divide fractions. So what we're going to do is we want to change our mixed numbers to fractions. Change numbers to fractions. And then secondly, we want to multiply or divide the fractions. So I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about how we should change mixed numbers into fractions. And how we're going to do that, changing doesn't have a T in it, changing to fractions. How I am going to do this, I think would be best explained through an example. So we are going to look at 2 1/4. If I want to change this to a fraction, I need to recognize that 2 1/4 is equal to 2 plus 1/4. So I need to make a fraction that's going to be over 4. So my question is, 2 is equal to how many quarters? Well, I can draw that real quick. I got two things here. If I cut them both into quarters, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 quarters. So that would be 8 over 4 plus 1 over 4, which is 9 quarters. And of course, there's going to be an easier way to do this than having to draw it out every time. So what I would normally do, 2 1/4 equals, I'm going to take the 2 and multiply by the 4, and I'm going to add that to the 1. So that's 2 times 4 plus 1, and we keep that over the 4. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So we multiply the whole number by the denominator and add that to the numerator. 2 times 4 plus 1 is 9. We end up with 9 quarters, and that's something I can actually work with. We're going to try this with another example. For this example, we are going to do 3 and 2 over 7. That's going to equal, one more time, I'm going to multiply these bottom two together. 3 times 7. Then I'm going to add that to my numerator, plus 2, and I'm going to keep my denominator, which is 7. So 3 times 7 is 21, plus 2 is 23. That's 23 over 7, and that would be how I would simplify it. So now we are going to need to try a little bit of multiplication and division here. So my first problem is going to be 2 1/3 times 1 1/2. The first thing I want to do is say I don't want to multiply mixed numbers. That's hard. So I'm going to change this into a fraction. I'm going to multiply this and add here. So I end up with 2 times 3 plus 1 over 3. That's going to be times my 1 times 2 plus 1 over 2. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, so that's 7/3 times 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3. That's going to be 3/2. Now that I have that, I can go ahead and multiply. I'm going to end up with 21. 7 times 3 is 21 over 3 times 2 is 6. So I get 21 over 6. I can simplify this because I can divide the top and the bottom by 3. When I do that, I end up with 7 over 2. 7/2, and I'm good leaving it as a improper fraction. If you want to do it to a mixed number, you would just divide 7 by 2, and you'd end up with 3 with a remainder of 1. So that would be 3 and 1 over 2. but either of these I would absolutely count as right answers. So if you don't want to put it back into a mixed number, don't put it back into a mixed number, because improper fractions are easier to work with anyways. The second problem I want to do is going to be 1 2/3 divided by 2 1/2. Once again, the first thing I want to do is to change my mixed numbers into improper fractions. We're going to have 1 times 3 plus 2 over 3, and that's going to be divided by my 2 1/2. We're going to do 2 times 2 plus 1, 2 times 2 times 2 plus 1, leave it over the 2. So when I simplify that, 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5, I get 5/3. I'm going to divide by 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. That's going to be 5/2. So what I want to do now is I'm going to do my keep, flip, change, KFC. So I'm going to keep my first fraction. It's going to stay 5/3. I'm going to flip my second fraction, so it becomes 2/5, and I'm going to change my division to multiplication. Now I can multiply this. 5 times 2 is 10, 3 times 5 is 15. Looking at this, I can divide both by 5, and I end up with 2 over 3. And 2/3 would be my final answer. Just like that, I'm done. Please make sure you do the lesson practice, or the practice set rather. That's going to be A through J, 10 quick problems, shouldn't be too bad. And then we should be good to go. So I will see y'all tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening. Toodaloo.